There's quote unquote better Simic options. People have the whole gamut of things to say about Nadu, but
I do.
Sample size is small, but I can't argue with the deck. I mean, this has a better conversion rate than Rogsai.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Rogsai, I mean, we've seen a lot of it registered and to mixed results. I mean, we've seen it do some winning. And of course, Orry, our Top Deck Expo champion, kind of one of those real, I'd say, trailblazers for the Top Deck Championship Series Rogsai players. Unsurprising to see him once again in the top 16 with his take on Rogsai. Really one of the people propping up, I'd say, its conversion rate compared to a lot of the people that want to pick it up. Very difficult deck and mulliganing a lot, as we do see Orry continuing to mulligan here. But yeah, like you mentioned, Nadu actually had a pretty strong performance this weekend. Not a deck that I expected to see a lot of, and we really didn't. Only, like you mentioned, 3 or 4 copies among the 256 players, so people not really very comfortable with it yet. But those that were brave enough to register it not only got a little bit of brewer's advantage, because the combo is a little convoluted, and even as the Pro Tour ended with a Nadu deck winning the 60-card format Pro Tour, people were still discovering loops as the weekend was playing out. And so I imagine there's some of that going on as well with Nadu here in this tournament. And as you mentioned, a more brewer's advantage involved with Kirkland's take on Erinis and the Urchin kind of background. It's Street Urchin enchantment background, which you haven't really got a chance to talk too much about. Talked a little bit about in round 1, as we did see a Snoop line there. But this is a partner commander, but actually choose a background is what's going on here. So we have an enchantment and a creature in the command zone, making up the Gruul color identity available to Kirkland.
Yeah, one of my funniest rules interactions with having your background in your command zone is you can use your Jeweled Lotus to cast it, which you can catch people off guard. It counts as your commander, so things like Jeweled Lotus, Command Tower still work just fine. You have a dedicated creature and Sakel out in your command zone to set up for your win line. I think it'd be disingenuous for me to say I know exactly how it wins. We did see it win with the Snoop line. I know there's Protean Hulk lines as well that enable you to get creatures out, and mulligans have concluded here. Looks like Eric's kicking us off
with a tough land to start with. Yeah, exotic orchard that makes no mana. That's the start.
That's not the orchard that you want.
No, that is not the orchard you want at all. Forbidden Orchard, a much stronger one for casting spells in turn 1, is here comes Gitaxian Probe to start for Orry. A card we don't see as much, kind of being cut from a lot of the Rogsai lists, and it's something that really I think most people wouldn't notice. Gitaxian Probe, not a big flashy card, but I'm a big advocate of Gitaxian Probe. Owe a lot of my own personal Magic success to the card, and people cutting it I think is a mistake. Orry is going to look at a hand to draw a card.
I'm a firm Gitaxian Probe believer. I think with how many top deck tutors exist and are prioritized in this format, your ability to crack that for 2 life as opposed to mana when you're tight on mana. I have it in Timna Crom, and I love that card. But kind of an anemic start.
Looks like a fetch land for Kirkland. Yeah, no, only Probe land go from Orry, and looks like a rainbow land of some kind. I think we've seen a few of these particular ones. Could be Command Tower. Command Tower City of Brass is where I'm at. I think those are the only ones played. I don't think that's a Mana Confluence. And actually, Mana Confluence not actually in Orry's deck? Is that true? Wow, that is true. We have a City of Brass, but no Mana Confluence. Couldn't make the cut. All right. So only 2 options really is Erinis. Urchin is going to be starting with a fetch for some land that casts an Elvish Mystic, and it's going to be that Elvish Mystic is the follow-up. And with that, we will go over to the Nadu, which has probably the strongest start of the bunch. Command Tower and a Mana Vault. Most mana, at least, for that deck as well. Eric can finally cast his own Mana Vault now that Exotic Orchard makes mana, but no second land? Are we passing the active player token? No second land for Eric.
You have to think, there has to be some sort of payoff. Maybe you have that wheel in hand, so you're hoping to refresh here, but it's plays like this that are high risk, high reward that I love seeing played in a top 16 setting.
Well, here's a Polluted Delta, just cast Rog from Orry. So I've noticed more and more of these Rogsai players really holding on to their Rogs, waiting to deploy them. I wonder if this is kind of a development as a result of the Orcish Bowmasters meta that's in front of us. Now, not as many Bowmasters in this particular pod, as 2 of Orry's opponents cannot even legally play the card, being in green, blue, and green, red. Now, Eric certainly has one. I don't even have to look at the deck list to understand that. But maybe can play around it a little bit less, as here is Gaia's Cradle added to the mix, and now it's Green Sun Zenith for 2. Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
Green 2 drops. Can't grab Snoop. What do we grab?
I think we're grabbing Oof. I'm willing to bet Oof.
Ooh, Collector Oof against double Mana Vault would be a beating.
I would say I'm not a gambling man, but I am.
You are a gambling man. Yeah, let's not lie to the people here.
I'm willing to bet right now. We'll see the DraftKings money lines pop up right now.
Oh, he hits. It's Collector Oof coming off the Green Sun Zenith. And now people are stuck because Eric, we know mana problems from the jump with the Exotic Orchard. Now Mana Vault doesn't even work. Tapped Field of the Dead is second land for Ian. That is what I like to call ambitious. As we move over to Eric.
Ambitious and nutritious. You're going to eat good with those creatures. Once they start getting out, you start doing the Nadu thing, throw some Shukos on some zombies, but it might be a little too late. I think the top half of the table is certainly favored right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because Orry, hasn't deployed any artifacts, so clearly didn't really keep a hand necessarily banking on them, but they are still an important part of mid-combo mana generation for most ROG side lines. Things like Dockside, some of the free artifacts that you get that are really powerful with ROG. These can be very important for reaching the mana threshold you need to actually combo off. Now, Orry has the information that Collector Oof's in play, so he can either prioritize getting removal spells or just the spell mana, things like rituals, but not clear that his hand can necessarily do that, as here comes Raucous Theater on instep, going to get some Surveil action going. Very valuable tool in the ROG side repertoire.
Is that how you pronounce it, Raucous?
I don't know. That's what I say.
I cannot say that. I call it the Rumpus Room because I just cannot say that.
The Rumpus Room. Well, I know it's not Rumpus. We can get some pronunciation guides, but I'm gonna call it Raucous. Raucous. I'm getting an update. It is Raucous. I'm a genius.
Yeah.
Everybody else pronounces things wrong but me. I've got it all dialed up.
It's Rumpus Room. And Zane had a good point in chat. Shuko cannot be activated with the Collector.
Yeah, Collector Oof just so brutal for this Nadu deck for so many reasons. Shuko, Greaves, all of those typical combo pieces offline, as well as the Mana Vault that's already on the table. Things not going great. Currently, from what we can see, Ian's best plan is to play a bunch of lands and make some zombies, I guess. Obviously that's a little bit facetious, but some problems here for Ian. As Orry there's a little bit of conversation here at the table, maybe talking about keeping this Oof in play. Oh, yeah, no, judge conversation, potentially.
I think the puzzle that Orry has to figure out now is how do I remove the Oof at his opportune time, being able to open his window while keeping it closed for his opponents. But we have a Time
Twister off of Phyrexian Tower. We cut back into that one on the stack by Orry. And, this might be a boon for a lot of players that kept some hands based on these Mana Vaults working.
Yeah, and I see blue mana open, one blue mana open specifically. I'm sure Eric runs and Ian, I'm sure they both run Chain of Vapor. You're running a risk of them being able to untap with that Collector Oof out of play.
No, none fired off in response to the Twister. So interaction is still available, obviously off of the Time Twister, but players going to be firing up the Time Twister. And Orry, with the land already played, not a great Twister for the ROG side deck itself, but just getting the rest of the players back in the game actually could be big gain here for Orry, wanting Eric and Ian to actually be able to play the game so that Kirkland doesn't just run away with things.
Yeah, I think it's a calculated risk by Orry. You have to refuel yourself somehow, and if that was your best play, that tells us from the booth that he was out of gas. Got to refuel somehow. You do it at the risk of putting fresh cards into your opponent's hands, but it's a hard wheel because you are seeing your opponents already have dead cards. I'm wondering how much of that was to disrupt Kirkland's game plan, who seemed to kind of be snowballing and it might have been worth stopping him.
Just to get other players some help. I think that's a big part of the equation for some of these wheels. They have a very varying value, does these wheel effects like Time Twister, Wheel of Fortune, and things like that, because they can help your opponents a lot. But when the rest of the table seems to be falling behind, as Kirkland seems to be springboarding ahead with Gaia's Cradle, allowing the mana to really be already dialed up, and then Oof, there was some premium disruption. Kirkland's in a great spot, and Orry might need some help, and I think that's still the case. Is Lotus Petal, the deployed post-wheel by Orry, another card that does not work. This Collector Oof, brutal for the table.
I'm almost wondering, and I've played a lot with Orry, and I really respect Orry as a player. He's helped me a lot with upping my game on Tim Necrom. I'm almost wondering if that Lotus Petal is a threat. It's putting an artifact into play to show, oh, if you remove that, I'm going to have mana, as a sort of way to posture his opponents to disincentivize them from removing it.
Can't get a great look at what was just deployed there. It looks like I mean, obviously a land of some kind.
Shifting Woodlands, the new card from Modern Horizons 3.
Potentially, yeah, that one comes in old border. All right, so we got Shifting Woodlands, the new card from MH3. Quick check, that is in the deck list. I believe it is. A lot of hype around this one. Haven't really seen it do much so far. As
But this
Cradle,
Manglehorn,
well known for what it does, makes a ton of mana. And here comes Manglehorn. More artifact disruptions. This one able to pick off some things right away. Could even pick off the Lotus Petal if you wanted to. I mean, you can't just sack it in response or anything like that. Get that out of here.
It's a hard decision. I think it looks like if you attack Sharky's Mana Vault, you effectively get Sharky out of the game, right?
Well, Sharky's probably the most likely to have a creature sweeper, right? If you're thinking about, okay, who's going to have sweepers and also who's incentivized to find them, it's going to be Eric. Wants to play a long game, wants to disrupt these players. I do like going after the Mana Vault, but really none of Eric's mana is even functional yet. As we actually do hit, we hit the Lotus Petal from Orry, and we have a Birds of Paradise follow-up off the Shifting Woodland. So Gaia's Cradle making more and more mana. Another mana creature here added. That one looks like Orcish Lumberjack. So much mana generated here for Kirkland, and with multiple artifact disruptors in play, Dockside completely off the table as far as a card that functions. Have a lot of problems that solve there, and these mana vaults still worthless from the bottom half of the table. Just an incredible start here from Kirkland, thanks to Cradle and friends.
Yeah, if you are in Kirkland's position where you're playing, again, we've said this throughout his entire run here, quote unquote suboptimal deck. I really can't even think of any Gruul options off the top of my head that I would think to grab. This might be the one if people are wanting to play Gruul. I think when you are playing at a disadvantage in terms of card quality, you make up for that in player experience or Brewer's advantage, and we are seeing that right now. Every card I feel that Kirkland has deployed, and we see a Mana Vault here that we cannot use, right?
Yeah, the Mana Crypt has to enter tapped thanks to the
tapped and can't use
it. So I believe we are correcting the game state here as that Mana Crypt does enter the battlefield tapped thanks to Manglehorn. Couldn't wanted to, but now the potential to be lightning bolted every turn for Ian, potentially a posturing that, hey, like we got to remove this stuff. And, Ian wanting to really have access to mana post removal of these creatures. Like I said, I think both of the Grixis players somewhat incentivized to remove these artifact disruptors, as I believe that is an elf of some kind. Not sure which one was printed in 7th edition. I think it's Llanowar Elves was the one printed in 7th edition.
So yes, that looks like a Llanowar Elves. But I feel every disruptive piece Kirkland has deployed, and we have talked a lot on streams about stacks and how to effectively deploy stacks. He has done so with the right card at the right time. And the ability, we've seen his deck, he can remove those to further his own game plan when he's ready to go for the win.
I'll tell you this. This feels a lot like old meeting new. We have, Nadu, brand new deck, generated from MH3. Rogsai, probably one of the biggest winners out of MH3 thanks to Necro Dominance and Flare of Duplication, the power of those cards. I haven't taken a super great look at Sharky's deck, but I have to imagine there's going to be some MH3 cards in there as well. Versus Gruul, which is playing, maybe a new take on the Gruul colors, but we really haven't seen Green Sun Zenith for Collector's Oof. That was a very common play pattern, 2, 3, 4 years ago. People were doing that all the time because that was just the best way to disrupt mana. And now we're really getting to see it back in action here in top 16 of the biggest CDH event of all time, 2024. Like, that's a massive thing. As Flesh Duplicate being cast, Eric finally found his second land. It's going to find Volcanic Island, and Flesh Duplicate coming out. Best target among the bunch is Manglehorn. Is that even good for you? Maybe you are kind of playing Kirkland's game now and do want to help to slow the game down even more. Kind of an awful thing to think about.
The only other thing I can see Sharky doing in a weird world is perhaps Birds of Paradise to get just some sort of mana on the stack. Otherwise, I can see, I believe it is some Dork, because I don't see an artifact being destroyed. Double Manglehorn, I can see a world where you are turning off Kirkland's artifacts, like you said, playing Kirkland's game. But Yeah, it looks like perhaps a Birds of Paradise. I saw Sharky motion towards that side of the table.
And we have Warrior's Oath going underneath a tapped Chrome Mox that, of course, enters tapped thanks to Manglehorn. Doesn't work anyway thanks to Collector Oof. And yeah, whatever we get. I mean, this does have Vanishing 3. So you're going to have to get use out of it before it disappears. It doesn't look like this game's ending anytime soon from what we see right now. So if your plan is to build to Tavesh mana, obviously Birds of Paradise helps with that. If we are building, if we're trying to build to Tavesh next turn, Eric can make an Orcish Lumberjack, and that could sack Volcanic Island, and then we're kind of cooking. But either way, it looks like the game's going to drag on, as Orry definitely seems to agree, as here comes Rhystic Study as the 3-mana play. Been doing a good job using mana every turn. Has Orry used all of his mana every single turn and playing impactful cards. Rhystic Study, a great follow-up to the Time Twister from the previous turn. That card, with all of the mana disrupted thanks to artifacts not working, going to be hard to pay for all the players, and does work against these creature decks. I think this Rhystic Study is set to be very good in this pod.
I would be hard pressed to play that to Vesh, because I feel like, if you're playing it to play Thralls and to hopefully get an ultimate, that's the only out that I see. You really have no other creatures. There is a bunch of power on board, so if everyone agrees, hey, we're just going to start swinging in, get rid of your Thralls, you're going to make two little idiots every turn. We can eat those and get damage through to Vesh. I don't see, at least from my perspective, where that's furthering the game plan.
Yeah, obviously you'd want to get some politics involved, potentially be like, hey, I'm the furthest behind, have been since turn 1. There needs to be some politics involved, and maybe it involves a sweeper into Tavesh. You can float mana and things like that. Not clear what we could come up with from Eric's side, but definitely needs to start getting the mana going. Has had mana problems all game. Has Eric as here. Is that Sylvan Tutor?
That Checking. Looks like a Worldly Tutor, the RKF, Richard Kane Ferguson art of Worldly
RKF
Tutor?
Is correct.
And Weiss Games did make a good point.
Correct. It is Worldly Tutor off of Elvish Mystic. Yeah, there we go. We're tapping the Elvish Mystic.
Orcish Lumberjack can only sacrifice forests, so even cloning that, you can't eat your own Volk.
Oh, true. You can't eat. It doesn't sacrifice mountains. Okay, yeah. There's no good targets for this flush duplicate. What did we make? I guess Birds of Paradise?
Yeah, I'm inclined to believe so.
Tough way to do it. Well, I think this is on. Is this on upkeep that we're doing this?
Yes.
Paying for Rhystic Study with the Shifting Woodland. All right. And now here comes Fierce Guardianship.
Okay.
All right. So here's a fight over the Worldly Tutor. I like the fight here because obviously Fierce not going to work against whatever creatures grabbed, and Kirkland seems to be building towards even just a Protean Hulk line, right? We have a sack outlet in the command zone, like you called out, and a ton of mana thanks to Gaia's Cradle. We really are building towards just having a Hulk line. So not necessarily obvious if Fierce is going to work against anything going on there. Use it now against the Tutor, even though normally you want to counter the Tutor targets, not the Tutors.
Yeah, Cradle's tapping for 5 right now. Your creature count is getting out of hand, I would say. And we are deploying Erinis.
Erinis prior to Cradle, as here we're floating green, munching the forest thanks to the Lumberjack. That makes 3 more mana, 4 in the pool right now. Cradle still not tapped. And Birds of Paradise available, ton of mana left over. Oh, well, here comes Cradle. 5, like you mentioned, that's 9 mana total. What are we casting here? Realms Uncharted? Is that what that is? Talk to me. The gifts ungiven for lands as players are giving Realms Uncharted a read. We will as well. Realms Uncharted is 2 and a green instant. Search the library for 4 land cards with different names and reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Put the chosen cards into your graveyard, the rest into your hand, and shuffle your library.
Yeah, it's right. Mono green gifts ungiven, right?
Well, for land, you can't grab creatures. I feel like you really want to grab creatures here.
No.
4 land cards with different names. All right, let's take a quick look at what utility lands. And oh wow, we got some utility lands in spades. We have the new Talon Gates of Madara. We have Urza's Saga. That's fine. Lazatep Quarry. Not sure what that even does. Sack a desert, exile creature card from your graveyard. Sure. Horizon of Progress. Gyre Reach Sanitarium. Emergence Zone. Boseiju available among the mix. A ton of options here.
Yeah, you are reaching deep right now. Getting a lot of different options for a lot of different situations. I feel like Kirkland is pretty in control of this game right now. And I don't know if we're trying to fight our way into another turn cycle, you're gonna grab just disruptive pieces, right? I don't think you're going for a win with this card.
Yeah, I believe that's correct. So where we're going is shifting woodland can copy whatever you're not given, if that's part of the equation in any meaningful way. I don't even see something like a deserted temple that could necessarily double cradle mana. Like that's something that like you see in casual EDH or whatever. That like there's a merchant zone as the first card revealed. That like I would maybe want to look towards is like, all right, what are we trying to do with this? And disruption seems like one of the best options. As yeah, I believe that's emergence zone is the first choice.
I know before Kirkland had grabbed the Talon Gates and the Lazatep Quarry, which it looks like we are grabbing right now.
Quarry. Sack outlet on a land. I think that's kind of the best of what it offers you. Don't need to have that background in play. That's Beseju, so we did reach for that. Yeah, I guess this is just like a divination of sorts that you can politic with. Say, hey, give me this and I can answer this. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, when you're ahead, there's not much political capital that you have to work with as you shut down everyone's mana. So unclear that you're going to get any kind of help or anywhere with your politicking, but an interesting conclusion. First Realms Uncharted I think I've seen cast in my entire life. I've not seen people play with this one too much.
It's my second, the first being round 1 from Kirkland.
Extremely fair. Kirkland reading his own lands here, trying to figure out what the next best fourth land is.
I think this is Kirkland reading the table, the texture of the table, if I can use a Drake Sasser staple here.
Sure.
The claws are in. I think Kirkland is squeezing this game right now and putting pressure on all of their opponents. This spell, I think, is the guarantee that you are going for Kirkland, that Kirkland is going to see another turn. Not in a winning position quite yet. You did deploy your commander, so there is, and I guess no, the free spells for commander aren't great. The green one, Obscure Maze, isn't great. You have a deflecting swap possibly.
Yeah, you have a swap. You see a swap in the deck.
So you have your commander. You're posturing to go for a win, and I think you're just short mana wise, and this certainly is the insurance to try to get to the next turn.
And I think Eric here, the table kind of discussing exactly what matters here is I believe Guy reached Sanitarium, the last land grab. So it looks like we're separating Quarry and Sanitarium as a pile for one of the choices. And Zone, Emergent Zone, and Beseju Who Endures, the other pile, is the current separation. Not even clear to me which one of those you're supposed to go to hand. I don't really know how to separate this particular card, as the whole table's kind of weighing in a little bit. An opponent chooses, but that doesn't mean you can't receive a little bit of input.
Yeah, I am not envious of this position. I mean, Gaia Rage Sanitarium shuts down Thorkel lines pretty easily. Beseju shuts down Breach, and in theory could destroy that Rhystic Study if that starts getting out of hand here. Emergent Zone is pretty scary. I think a little sneaky scary, the ability to win on the stack over anybody, especially when clearly Kirkland has no problems with mana. There's no good options in terms of choosing.
We handed all 4 cards back to Kirkland. I mean, it's not clear to me what was said, but I think it's something like, I don't care. Pick 2. I mean, it's not clear to me. Maybe they're still talking about it, but I mean, we just handed all 4 back, and now Kirkland himself is looking through the lands and just separating them. So,
can we see the face cam?
It's not clear to me what's going on here as we get a look at the face cam. Now we're laying them out for the other players. Eric, not clear that he actually had an opinion, as other opponents might have an opinion. I mean, yeah, it's not clear what matters. Like, it all feels pretty minor. And
okay, we've made our decisions.
To go to the bin. Sanitarium hits the bin, and
switch back
to the camera.
Okay, so Gaia Reach Sanitarium did get binned, and it looks like we're getting Beseju and Lazatep, I believe.
Okay, and Lazatep going to get deployed. So now Sack Outlet in play. Notably, no more Forests in play. Lumberjack done its thing. Now, we made like 9 mana there. We only used 3. There's 6 left over.
Is there 6? Oh, yeah, true. There is 6. Yep.
Yeah, we made 4 with the float mana, then Lumberjack, and then spent 3, but we also already tapped Cradle. So here goes. Okay, that's the 10th mana -3. So we have 7 mana with this bird. So that's Hulk mana, right? And untapped Lazatap, that's a sacrifice outlet. All right, it's just going to be Street Urchin, the other half of the commander pairing here, the background for Erinis Gloom Stalker.
I believe some of that mana I believe was used to cast Erinis. So, but I think our mana pool is empty.
Okay,
now.
sure. Then that would be 6. Now 8, 2 mana left. Then is what should be. I don't know. The mana seems to be tracked by the players, so I assume that we have used the mana somehow. That was a lot of mana that I feel like we spent on not a lot.
I feel great if I'm Kirkland and I get to live to see my next turn. My Cradle's tapping for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
A billion. I mean, it's actually a billion.
Yeah, or 6. It looks like insane. I'll take a 6 mana land for 1.
Is that strong, or where do we stand on that? I mean, like I said, I think guys, Cradle's decks are stay winning with the additions of MH3. All of the new creatures and tools that are available seem to really reward creature strategies. I think Gaia's Cradle is a card I would be looking to register if I were playing CDH tournaments. Not clear that I would do so in a Gruul Shell.
Unban Tolarian Academy.
Okay, wait. Well, let's slow down. we don't have to do this.
Controversy sells, Drake.
Does it? Does it?
I don't know.
I don't know that it does. 2 mana. I have no idea what that is. Taking a look.
What is that card, chat? I thought it was Elvish Champion for a second.
It's 2 mana, is whatever it is. I'm checking as well. Seeker of Skybreak is my guess. That's my first guess.
Oh, it's an untapper, right?
Yeah, that is just a 1 and a green for a 2/1 elf that taps the untapped target creature. I believe that is what that is.
Oh,
the only
Vala staple
other than Springheart and Tuco that costs 1 and a green. So Seeker of Skybreak is what we're working with. Okay, I mean,
we missed our mana crypt roll.
All right, we're gonna put that on the stack. That's a detrimental trigger, so that one has to go on the stack. Players caught it. We have our bolt machine now. Unclear that we took damage. Looks like evens are safe. So we've deployed Seeker of Skybreak. Notably, could have deployed Nadu. Chose not to. Chose not do.
Boo. It is clear though, with this success that Nadu is having, we are no longer in Mardu Summer. It's Nadu Summer. The conversion rate, like we said at the beginning of this cast for this round, we're at like 50% to 66%. If I think there was out of 256 players, I believe 3 or 4 registered Nadu.
Wait, so there's 3 mana's tapped. Is this a 3 mana card? Am I mistaken?
Chat is saying that it is Seeker of Skybreak.
Okay, yeah, that's what I said it was. That's a 2 mana card.
Why
is there a 3rd mana tap? Oh, we paid for Ristic. Gotta remember that Ristic study. It's been a long turn. We did so much Realms Uncharting and deploying weird green creatures I've never seen before. A lot of cards I've not seen cast before on commentary. No matter how long you do this, you still see new cards all the time. As 1 Vanishing Counter removed from Flesh Duplicate, as we are finally back to Eric's turn. Spent last turn deploying a Flesh Duplicate, copying something, believably a mana creature, and deploying a Chrome Mox and imprinting something under it that did not make mana. So,
yeah,
not a great sequence of turns here. I mean, every single turn cycle that goes down, Eric seems to fall further behind somehow. And we started on Exotic Orchard Pass as the first player.
Yeah, I think that hand with Exotic Orchard Pass is a situation of high risk, high reward. We may have drawn a card without meaning to, or not sure what happened there, but these are the make or break. These make or break risky hands of Exotic Orchard Pass, hope to draw the land, Mana Vault. Who knows what we're gonna do with 4 mana on our next turn? I think playing those in Swiss is fine, but I love seeing those in top 16. The pressure is on, and if it works, you feel like a genius.
Would you say that Eric is feeling like a genius right now?
Considering how many cards Eric has had to read between Realms Uncharted, I was about to say Green Gifts Ungiven, Realms Uncharted, all 4 of those lands Eric had to read, and then having to read this Skybreaker, I think my brain is hurting. It's day 2 of a 256 person event. I'm a little PO'd if I'm Eric. Like, why am I having to read so much?
Why these are supposed to be all the fringe is supposed to be banished to the Shadow Realm. Not quite, Eric, as no third land for Eric, I believe, is what we're seeing here. And that is brutal. And we're doing something here.
Activating
Kirkland
Lazatep
on Eric's end step. It looks like we're tapping to sacrifice a creature. Let's get a quick read on Lazatep Query once more. See what the options even are with this card. All right. Lazatep Query. This is a... Where the heck did it go? Oh, no. Am I looking at the right deck list? No, I'm not. That is your problem.
Does it ping?
Query. Here we go. This is a land. It's a desert. Taps out a colorless. Taps out a creature. Add a mana of any color. And then you can pay 2 and X. Tap it. Sack a desert. Exile target creature card with mana value X from your graveyard. Create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. Activate only as a sorcery. So we can only sack a creature to make mana. And it looks like we did. Did we cast anything?
I believe that the Elvish Mystic was sacked to activate Street Urchin to kill the Birds of Paradise.
To pick off the Birds of Paradise. Wow. Aggressive.
And Undercity Sewers looks like it milled a defense grid.
Yeah, Undercity Sewers plays land for turns, surveils, and to the graveyard goes defense grid. Not a lot of interaction at this table, clearly. Defense grid, a little late to the party.
Yeah, you have to think if spells aren't being cast, that means spells are in hands, right? That's a staple I've picked up from Brian Koval. And we see Orry casting Mystical Tutor. Do you think we're just going for Thorkel here and saying Mana Rocks be damned?
I mean, if we have it, definitely. A lot of cards drawn for Orry, I'd say, even though players have been pretty responsible. We've seen a lot of players doing a good job paying for Heuristic Study. And now we have a Mystical Tutor still, and quite a bit of resources left anyway. Orry still got a few cards off for 60 so far. Question is, what do you go for in this situation? Do you go for a Wrath and try to unlock your artifact mana? Or, like you mentioned, do you go for Tainted Pact, Console, whatever the next piece is of that combination to try to break out and just win the game on the spot? Not clear. Depends on what is in Orry's hand. So naturally, whatever we see be revealed will give us a good indication of what's going on in Orry's hand, what his plan is to win the game.
I think the longer this game goes, the smaller Orry's window to try to go for a win is. I think Ian and as on Nadu is kind of locked out. Eric on Tavesh Krom, you're not doing too much. I think this is a battle between the top half of the table right now. Praetor's Grasp is a very interesting choice, and I'm excited to see what Orry's line is thinking this. Maybe grab a meme bet. I don't know if meme bet's good right now. I don't know what you grab if you're Orry, but I was even thinking he was posturing Adnaw's mana, depending on how long he thought he might have in this game. But Praetor's Grasp was not what I was thinking we were grabbing.
Yeah, not the card I would have called either. Taking a quick look for any kind of sweepers or anything that could have been grabbed, and it looks like we're starting with Culling the Weak. Okay, so we have 4 black. We have the mana figured out. We even still have Phyrexian Tower if we want to try to do something with that. And we have Praetor's Grasp. What are we grasping for? So we don't even have opposition agents we need to play around. Eric doesn't even have access to 3 mana right now. So it's not even like, oh, I need to play around opposition agent. That's something you see come up every now and again with Praetor's Grasp. So it has to be a card you're interested in that you don't have access to, or a second copy of something like Double Dockside, for instance.
It could be Double Dockside if you can get rid of the stacks pieces. It could be a Breach if you have a way again to get rid of those stacks pieces. I think it's guaranteeing you have access to one of the 2 combo pieces you might need to pop off. I think we're about to see a Nas right now. Potentially. Sure. This is we're active player. I'm sorry, I thought this was at the end step of Eric. So
no, I believe we've untapped. We've drawn the Praetor's Grasp, and now Orry has Praetor's Grasp in hand and has sacrificed Rograk to the Culling the Weak. So Rograk is in graveyard right now, and constantly the reason we're doing this analysis is Demonic Tutor's in Orry's deck. So theoretically, if you're not grabbing Demonic Tutor, why are you grabbing Praetor's Grasp over Demonic Tutor? Right, Demonic Tutor typically considered to be a strictly better card on all fronts. So what exactly are we reaching for here? Is Cabal Ritual now being cast? Don't
No
think
threshold.
we have 7 in yard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So yeah, the Rog deck doesn't actually make a difference. I think we were asking about threshold there for a minute. And now here comes Praetor's Grasp, 3 mana left over. And targeting Eric.
Oh,
Passing
we might
priority
potentially have the SWAT.
is the table. Right. We're pointing to Phyrexian Tower here. I believe players are just validating mana. Yeah, it looks like we're all validating mana, making sure that 3 mana floating is correct. And that is what is going to be happening here with this Praetor's Grasp. I mean, like I said, it could just be playing around Opposition Agent if you feel that you could afford to. That's a big reason to grab Grasp in place of Demonic Tutor, assuming you have both. But not clear. Very interested to see how Orry's going to navigate this. And passing over the Tevesh Kram deck of Eric. And now we'll see what Orry chooses. It's Toxic Deluge. Okay, so now this makes a lot of sense, right? You grabbed Grasp because looking at Orry's deck, no Toxic Deluge. And in fact, no sweepers. So if you need a sweeper, rely on other people.
Yeah, and I want to point out real quick, Eric does need to shuffle their deck. I don't know. That's not something that just happened, but Orry grabbed the card. We did not shuffle. Alex, I'm not sure if you're able to assist with that, but I'm wondering, the way Kirkland postured is possible deflecting SWAT, and it looked like they have held priority at the cast, but again, not sure. If there was a SWAT, you might feel like maybe a little bit of egg on your face for not using it in response to the Praetor's Grasp.
Sure. Yeah. If players had access to SWAT, maybe that could be a tough one. And it wasn't, I mean, we were all kind of confused here in the booth is, okay, what are we doing with Grasp? Why go for Grasp? Now we see why. Toxic Deluge, not a card that Orry has access to, is a card that is in Eric's deck. Now on the stack by Orry. And we're starting with Chain of Vapor. Wow.
Is that a Chain of Vapor? I believe that's a Snapback.
Oh, Snapback. You're right. It's a different bounce spell. It's the pitch one. 2 mana Snapback, bouncing a creature, saving it from Toxic Deluge?
It looks like there's enough fear from unlocking Eric's mana and Orry's mana that the Nadu player is using Snapback to save the oof in response to the Toxic Deluge, so that way Kirkland can redeploy it.
So many new cards I've not seen here before. This is quite a spicy top 16 game indeed. Interesting lines, interesting cards, and interesting plays. Yeah, I guess Ian maybe a little bit worried about his chances of surviving with no oof in play, doing a little bit of a team up potentially here with Kirkland by trying to save Collector Oof. Very interesting. Mind Break Trap. So does that card work? The answer is yes. Orry has cast 3 spells. Actually, 4 spells, I believe. So that can exile the Snapback. So now this is left versus right here as Eric and Orry are teaming up the Grixis decks here to really answer all of these problematic green creatures.
This is such a collaborative effort and just shows the political nature of tournament commander. Not often do you see these moves where I'm going to protect your stacks piece. Okay, I'm going to counter.
I'm going to defend his spell.
Yeah,
crazy.
I love this. What's better than casting my own board wipe is casting your board wipe, and Orry was able to navigate that with no mana to spare. It was a very tight line.
Yeah, exactly. And now, I mean, what a board reset for the table. Kirkland, who was, working with 7, 8, 9 mana, now down to 2. Yeah, 2 functional mana. Cradle does not even make mana right now. Devastating for Kirkland was that Toxic Deluge. And ironically, not even that bad for Ian, though. He was trying to protect the Collector Roof, which maybe speaks to a weak hand from Ian. But, I mean, Ian untapping with an implied 9 mana, that's a lot.
Here's the nice thing, if you're in Ian's position, is you just baited out a piece of free interaction that can't be used against you now. You have all this mana, you have Nadu, maybe a way to start getting equity off of Nadu, but I think the ability to get rid of free pieces of interaction out of your opponent's hand is there's a distinct value to that. Looking at I see. We're
so no play. Yeah, I was to say, is there no play from Kirkland? Nothing at all? That's so tough as we go back to Ian. Like I said, an implied 9 mana. We do have a mana crypt roll that we do need to remember. Alongside, I mean, like I said, 9 mana. Nadu costs 3. You have 6 mana left to work with to deploy creatures, and any kind of whatever Lightning Greaves Shuko effect that now work, that could present a potential win, and does do a very good job of winning underneath Rhystic Study.
Yeah, that's backbreaking for Kirkland. You hate to see it, especially with how much we put everything on the table. We thought we were going to see an extra turn, maybe a possible win attempt on the stack, and to be blown out like that. I've been in situations like that. I feel for Kirkland. It sucks. There's no getting around it.
And now to 10 mana goes Ian.
Did we miss our mana crypt trigger?
Not clear. I mean, it could have been done and we just didn't catch it. I mean, it can happen very quickly. I'm checking real quick.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we deployed Waterlogged Grove. We have 10 mana. We're starting with, I think, Eternal Witness from Ian. It looks like an Eternal Witness. Checking. I've gotten a lot of these cards wrong. It is the Eternal Witness. This one, the F&M promo.
Sorry, one moment.
And now a pile of mana as a follow-up. Okay, so
easily redeploying.
Yeah, Seeker going to be redeployed. So this is one of the ways that you can trigger Nadu very easily, is these untap effects. Interesting. I mean, this is the best play we have. All this mana is so tough. Nadu's still stranded in the command zone.
Yeah, not
3 mana left over, nothing to do with it. I mean, not a good sign. Not kind of an indictment of what's going on with this post-twister hand, potentially very much disrupting the assembled game plan off of the mulligans from Ian.
So yeah, a lot of talking now. We entered the politicking phase. If we can switch to the face cam here. Curious what's being discussed. Kirkland, we bled a little bit of his hand. I did see a Tybalt's Trickery.
Tybalt's Trickery from Kirkland, the only counterspell I think available to the color combination. So one of the only playable ones. So there is some interaction available. Actually, no, that's not even true. We can't even cast it, right? This quarry only makes colored mana if you sacrifice a creature. The mana situation now so bad. How the turntables indeed for Kirkland, as Tevesh now can finally hit the board for Eric and have the ability to pay for Rhystic. The question is, will we?
I don't think you do. I think you need to get ahead. You have been behind this whole game. You need to start trying to outpace in some sort of capacity. I don't like paying my taxes. I do when I have to, but right now I wouldn't be doing it.
You heard it here first. Lauren advocating for tax evasion on stream.
No,
everybody.
Whoa. Don't pay your taxes, everybody, unless it's Rhystic Study.
Unless it's Rhystic Study. Okay, all right. The Rhystic. If you're studying, that's when we're talking about it. Here comes some Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are going to represent our 0-1 Thralls. Not an easy token to get a hold of. Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I guess I'll do it. We need to get in word with all trades media here. We need some 0-1 Thralls. What's going on? I can't do these Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They look blue. They look like real Magic cards because they're blue. There we go. We got the Thralls. Shout out to Eric. Actually has the tokens. Let's go.
So it sounds like you're not too enthralled about this, Drake?
No. That would be an accurate assumption. Whatever. We have Thralls as blockers. We're getting the Warriors Oath moved to Exile Zone there. 2 mana left over for Eric. I mean, that's quite a bit to work with for interaction. And now we have a Planeswalker developed. The board is cleared. This is a spot that I think Eric was really excited to set up. Really a big reason to protect that Toxic Deluge. And you mentioned, Tevesh liable to get attacked, can just get attacked down. Now, not anymore. not very many good attackers in play and multiple throws, but Orry is someone you have to worry about. All the mana's unlocked, Rhystic Study's still been in play, and Orry's not done tutoring, as here is Vampiric Tutor on Eric's end step once again.
You have to think we're in the end game now. You saw the free interaction get used. I mean, you're maybe worried about a fierce guardianship with the Tevesh live now. You know Kirkland's out of the game. Ian, I believe, is down to 1 card in hand, maybe 2, maybe. So you're really fighting against Eric right now, who also needs to fight against your Rhystic Study.
Exactly. This, I mean, a tough situation all around. The creature decks really had a strong start, and this is the reason to play sweepers. I mean, I think through the entire season of Top Deck Championship Series, as clones have gotten more prevalent, as creature-based stacks has gotten more prevalent, creature tutors have gotten more prevalent, Kinnan, Sisse, the rise of those decks and how they leverage their creatures, we've seen a push every single weekend after a creature deck wins to play more removal. And nobody does. Nobody except really Eric. I mean, even Orry, he was like, all right, I mean, I don't have removal. I guess I just hope you do. And Praetor's Graphs, Eric does happily find a Toxic Deluge among the mix. But I mean, you want to talk about being responsible involves paying for Rhystic Studies and things like that. What about just putting removal in your deck? I mean, what a flip of this game by just having access to a Toxic Deluge. I mean, we spent 6 mana to cast a Toxic Deluge last turn for Orry, and it really flipped the game on its head.
Yeah, you took control over that game Orry took control of the game with that Toxic Deluge. I think it was smart to not go for some later game combo piece or some value-based card. I think looking at the problem, being there in the here and now, going, this is what I need to take care of, and I have the mana to do it. I think it was really well executed by.
And here is Dockside Extortionist. I think we saw that one immediately drawn and played. Likely the Vampiric Tutor target. And with all the artifacts unlocked, this Dockside actually looks to be pretty good, I believe. 2, 3, 4. Okay, actually not that good. 4 the total?
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering if it's less about the count and more the color fixing if we're going for a win line right now. You're turning 3 mana into 4 mana. But you have access now to blue, black, if that's what you're needing.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, if we're trying to just set up a protected Thassa's Oracle Consult win, we are going to have access to that mana. Can be very mana intensive, especially with a Phyrexian Tower in play. Unfortunately, you would like to, when you cast Dockside, be able to sacrifice it right away to your Phyrexian Tower, both getting it off the battlefield so it can't be cloned and just getting that burst of black mana. Orry, no 4th land to really enable that play pattern, so either doesn't need the mana or doesn't have a land. And I'm not sure what's better for the table in either of those scenarios.
It's a lose-lose for the table. I think the only person trying to win right here is Orry. Right. That's pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, this Dockside has the potential. I mean, 4 mana is still a lot. And if we have any kind of bounces involved in the mix, then we can get that going as treasures are being made. Here comes 4, 5 treasures. So I missed a artifact or enchantment somewhere. Chromox, Mana Vault, Mana Crypt. Oh, the enchantment from the commander. Too easy to miss. That is not a creature. That is an enchantment. Yeah, we're all pointing to that. That is a background, which is an enchantment. So there's a 5th treasure. Okay, so we actually have quite a bit. 5, I think, is kind of the threshold where things start to get serious. Very easy to miss is the fact backgrounds are enchantments.
Drake, I'll be honest. I hate when my opponent's Dockside for 2. Really, anytime a Dockside's on the stack.
Just mana replacement? Sure.
Yeah, I'm unhappy about it. So I don't think there's any such thing as a good Dockside for my opponents, especially, as we've seen in previous games here. We have seen where a Dockside gets put into play, doesn't win the controller the game, and then it opens up this clone world where, Fallout 4 synth stuff, there's copies of Docksides running around everywhere. It's a dangerous thing to put on the table.
I agree. I think we're getting a quick pause real quick. So some kind of judge conversation, not clear what that's going to be about. We can get an update later on that, what kind of conversation is going on there, if there's any kind of resolution there. It looks like 2 players are kind of being pulled aside, some kind of question, conversation, something going on there. So we're going to take a quick pause on the match, which, I mean, unfortunately is just starting to heat up. Dockside finally coming down, finally able to work after Collector Oof and Banglehorn really gummed up all of the artifacts and things like that. Dockside actually works, actually makes a reasonable amount of mana. And Orry, someone who's been posturing all game, had to spend 6 mana, commit a Cabal Ritual, a Tutor, all of that work to get the Toxic Deluge resolved. And actually had to get the help from Eric as well. That Mindbreak Trap had to be involved in the process as well, just to get this Toxic Deluge resolved. Finally can get to resolve a Dockside Extortionist, as players are not quite sitting down yet. We have a look here at the camera at the table, getting a look to see what's going on with the players as some conversations happening here with the judge. I'm sure, like I said, some kind of quick question, some quick thing to resolve. And
while we're paused,
we'll see.
I'm more than happy with my gift of gab to fill the space. I would love to thank everyone. Our collaborator Iron Deck Tournaments, thank you so much for helping us make this tournament such a success, and for donating the trophy sword, aka the Cowtown Cleaver is what folks are calling it right now. I appreciate everything you've done. Iron Deck Tournaments, a lot of fun tournaments. They get a lot of high caliber players to play in their events and their invitation. They're usually invite only, if I'm not mistaken. So that's incredibly cool to see. Rodney, thank you for vending for us. I know Monroe with Propaganda couldn't be here. He's in Amsterdam right now. And Alex, part of our stream team. Thank you so much to everyone who's putting in the hours. We're filling the time right now during this judge call, and I'm sure we'll get the inside scoop on this judge call once it's resolved. But just thank you to everyone. It's been an awesome event. 256 players, and we easily could have surpassed 300. There's people begging for more tickets. We just did not have the room or capacity.
Yeah, there's just no space. I mean, this happens over and over again, where we are gated by the amount of space that we could get for a CDH event, and that's awesome, especially in this Columbus area. I mentioned that is the epicenter of CDH at this point, as we will be back for our invitational at $15,000 prize pool with 64 players in August. So really the center of CDH, it feels like, in the United States is this Columbus, Ohio area, and they've showed out in spades. All 256 players played. We're down to 16. We're in our top 16 match right now, and I believe we are getting started with the game again as we go back into the match. It looks like Lion's Eye Diamond just deployed by Orry. Do we have an Underworld Breach follow-up? Can't get a great look. It's Windfall.
Windfall. Let's go. Love to see it. You have to wonder, is this going to be followed up with something like a meme bet?
I mean, if so, this is signed up to be a great meme bet. Now, it would be hard to do intentionally, right? Because we have not tutored. We've used all our top of the deck tutors to make this Dockside Lion's Eye Diamond shenanigan happen. We can crack LED in response, but notably did not. Interesting sequencing there. And a little bit of conversation here. Maybe expecting some interaction.
To the 400 people we have watching right now, while we're seeing how this Windfall shakes out, thank you. Oh, wait, there's the meme bet.
That one just goes straight to yard. No way to flash that one in without Born Upon a Wind, and no Born Upon a Wind or mana for that present, as Eric discards Hullbreaker Horror and Yawgmoth's Will along the mix.
Interesting to note too, Eric had the ability to Red Elemental Blast that Windfall and chose not to.
Really?
So
interested
looks
in
like
new cards. Okay.
Yeah, that refill is helping them out right now.
Second wheel we've seen cast this game normally doesn't really happen. A lot of times when the wrong side deck wheels, it looks to move to win right away, and that did not happen here. So we may see 2 wheels resolve and 2 passing of the turns afterwards, which would be wild. I don't think Orry wants to do that if you don't have to.
No, that's I hate wheeling and then passing. You're giving your opponents a bag of tricks that they can then use against you. It's a precarious position to put yourself in.
Indeed, as we do deploy, we did pass the turn to Kirkland. Dryad Arbor the deploy. So now Gaia's Cradle back online to make mana. Shifting Woodland is going to get tapped for a Delighted Halfling. Okay, that one functionally free underneath Gaia's Cradle.
Okay, now we have a Delighted Halfling, making Gaia's Cradle even better. We're tapping for 2, so we're slowly redeploying our creatures. Vexing Shusher. Okay.
Vexing Shusher deployed. So this one's uncounterable. Okay, so yeah, we just got a quick update. It looks like there was just some deck, I guess, malfunctions, some things upside down or whatever that were resolved as a part of that kind of judge call. So no kinds of rulings or anything being delivered in that way. Looks like it just got flipped upside down maybe when Orry was searching through and stuff like that. So easy fix. Made sure that was fixed. Made sure all those cards were fixed. And I believe everything's corrected there. Yeah, and yeah, like we kept playing from where things lie. And now Vexing Shusher is on the stack.
Something I'd like to add to the mix with Vexing Shusher now being in play, you can make your opponent's spells uncounterable. So you have some sort of political ability to curry favor. If there's a situation in which there's a counter war, you can sort of make that counter war work for you rather than against you.
Yeah, I mean, an underrated part of the card, I'd say. Another one, it's so funny watching this Erinis Urchin deck, even though these are relatively new cards. These cards, the backgrounds and the choosing a background, all that stuff came with Commander Legends Baldur's Gate. A lot of this just feels so much like a return to old CDH. Vexing Shusher, an old-time staple of green decks for exactly that, political leverage, and of course punching your own cards through. The Collector Oofs play patterns that we've seen, another kind of return to form of old CDH. Very interesting to see. It's a land that I have not seen before is being put in
Teleria. OG Teleria.
Not Tolarian Academy, Teleria.
Yeah,
Legends.
I believe that's from Legends. Yeah.
You know the text box that one offhand? What you got?
No, I just recognize the art because I have one at home. You want to fill us in?
Oh, I'll fill you in. Legendary land, taps out of blue, comes in untapped, has another ability, Broken.
Ooh.
You can tap, and during upkeep, remove the banding or bands with other ability from target creature until end of turn. Or in current errata, target creature loses banding and all bands with other abilities until end of turn activate only during any upkeep step.
So it's a land that can trigger Nadu.
On your upkeep or your opponent's upkeep. But also, it's not a zero because it can actually pick off random phantasmal images as well. And it's just a random untapped blue land. That's actually a pretty neat little trick.
I kind of like that. I love stuff like that. I like that.
Here's Mox Diamond. That's going to pitch Verdant Catacombs to stay around. A lot of mana here for this Nadu deck. I feel like it's really time to get something started. We finally going to see Nadu Winged Wisdom into the battlefield. Have not seen it cast in any game I've commentated so far this tournament. Might finally be time to change that.
Pendelhaven's also cute with Nadu. I just put that together.
Is Nadu a 1/1?
Really...
Oh, but you can turn another 1/1. Drake understands.
Your little dorks. Yeah.
Yeah. We got well, we have, is Seeker a 1/1? Yeah, Seeker's a 2/1. We have no targets for this thing right now. No 1/1s. But we can still use Teleria to trigger Nadu, and we have the untapped target creature to trigger Nadu as well. Oh, it's Pyroblast coming down. So Nadu, attempt to be put on the stack, is getting blasted. Wompity womp for Ian. I mean, not even that bad. He has so much mana. Maybe just let this happen and recast it. You have so much mana to work with. Does he even care?
Well, the way he would, again, it's really important, I think, in multiplayer formats to see how physically your opponents are posturing. When that Nadu was at the stack, counting your mana, looking at cards in hand, that tells me that Ian wants this Nadu to be around. And I think there's some politicking right now where Ian's going, we need to stop Eric. Can you make this Nadu uncounterable? Because I believe it's still on the stack.
How does a Nadu in play stop Eric, though?
No. I think that's Ian's argument that they're trying to make right now is you need my Nadu around. This is why. Sacrifice one of your creatures. Sacrifice the Dryad Arbor. Make the green mana. Vexing Shusher on the Nadu. I think that's what's happening.
No. I mean... I don't even understand oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, we can't be. I mean, even Kirkland doesn't even seem to be in on this. We've tapped and untapped this Lazatep Quarry like 3 times. There's no way you're supposed to sacrifice. I mean, you need this mana for your guy's Cradle. You need Vexing Shusher to protect spells that matter. I mean, maybe there's something in Ian's hand he's revealed that's like, I need to do this, and Nadu needs to be in play for that. And yeah, wow.
So
it's left side versus right side continues as Pyroblast number 2 has hit the stack.
So explain the stack to everybody. Ian cast Nadu. In response, Eric cast Pyroblast targeting Nadu while Nadu was on the stack. In response, Kirkland activates Lazatep Quarry to sacrifice the Dryad Arbor to make 1 green mana to activate Vexing Shusher to target Nadu to make it uncounterable. And in response, Orry on the stack casts Pyroblast targeting Nadu.
That is accurate. And so top of the stack is currently a Pyroblast targeting Nadu for the second time. And what a mess. I mean, like I said, left side versus right side continues. The Toxic Deluge was devastating to the right side of the table. And now Ian trying to punch a Nadu Winged Wisdom in. Got some help from Kirkland at the cost of mana, creatures in play. I mean, Kirkland sacrificed a lot to try to make this Nadu resolve. And just to get met with another Pyroblast, this one from Orry is devastating.
It's kind of funny. Just like you said, we're seeing left side collaborating and right side collaborating. It seems like an old school versus new school kind of situation here in a way. But Ian activating the Waterlogged Grove to try to find some sort of answer, and it looks like at the end of it, Kirkland has lost their Dryad Arbor. The Pyroblast from Orry is resolving.
And back to the command zone goes Nadu Winged Wisdom. First time I've seen a cast on camera, did not resolve. So that is where things are at with Nadu Winged Wisdom count here at Cowtown Throwdown. Over to Eric. We go.
Oh, we had a Ristic Study trigger here. I think from the cast of Pyroblast. And Eric.
Right. So from Eric's Pyroblast. Okay, so we got that all figured out. And now here comes some beatdowns. We got two Thralls to get in the way. Going at, so these are, I think, two 2/1s. We got an Eternal Witness and a Seeker of Skybreak. That's like 4 power, 2 toughness. That's like real.
Yeah, going after Tavesh, I believe.
And after Tavesh, they go.
Is taking it.
Yeah, down to 2 loyalty counters for Tavesh. But Eric set up the spot. Got to untap with Tavesh. Here we go. Expecting some big things here. This is, mana problems all game long for Eric. Finally broke out of that, got Tavesh in play, got a sweeper of his own resolved by somebody else, and now finally gets to untap to uptick that Tavesh. And we were talking earlier about Tavesh. I mean, it can excel in these mid-rangey games as long as there are not heavy creature presence, and the creature presence heavily diminished thanks to the Toxic Deluge, Command Tower added to the mix. A lot of mana. What do you got, Eric?
Yeah, 5 mana should win games, right?
Maybe.
I think. Looks like maybe 1 block.
Maybe indeed. Cabal Ritual.
I think we have Threshold as well.
I think I agree. Windfall, very good at enabling Threshold.
We have a Ristic Study to fight through. I think the left side of the table was much better off than the right side of the table after that exchange with the Pyroblast. You force Kirkland now to have to use that Vexing Shusher. I think that was very good for Orry and Eric. You don't really have to worry about it. You're not going to see any free interaction really from Kirkland sans a wild deflecting swat. Ian did not defend their Nadu. I don't think they have anything. And again, we've put ourselves, I think, in a 1v1 situation between Orry and Eric.
And this is the team up that was just working together. And now with Kirkland using the Vexing Shusher activation in order to stop Nadu from hitting play, doesn't have it available. If Orry has any interaction left over with the 2 treasures, of course, no commander in play. So no, the commander spells don't really work. But 2 treasures is quite a bit of mana for interaction. If there's any interaction coming down for Orry, Kirkland can't back it up with Vexing Shusher because we already used that.
Yeah, I thought
Necropotence is the follow-up for Eric.
Looks like it resolved too.
Yeah, I believe it did. Maybe a breath of relief. I think that's got to be one of the least scary ones post 2 wheels and a Tavesh uptick. There's already been a lot of cards flying, so more of the same is less scary than something like a Breach. But still not what the table wants to see. This is a huge move from Eric as Grim Monolith added to the mix here as well. 6 mana now. So somehow we've cast 3 spells and we're up mana from where we started. Went from 5 to 6.
It's a good rate.
Not bad. Pretty strong cards, I'd say.
I'm concerned now about feeding Orry. Eric, I think, has to close the window right now. or run the risk of or he's drawn like a limited deck's worth. He's drawn a draft deck's worth of cards right now. Like that grip is. I think Orry has probably seen 30 to 40 cards this game of his deck. Eric's time, I think, to win is running out, and I don't believe any player is going to see another turn. I think if this gets past to Orry with an LED.
I was about to say, are we paying it all? We have a Born Upon the Wind, and we have a Final Fortune. We have 2 hits.
Yep.
That lets you try to go for it at instant speed. Now we see the Warrior's Oath in exile underneath the Chromox. Would have loved to have that one here. Obviously looked really bad at the time we exiled it. Liked exiling it there, but would have loved to have it right now. Now we've gone deep. This is a big Necro. We're digging deep. Remember, 2 hits. Born Upon the Wind lets you cast all your things right now, and Final Fortune lets you cast all your things right now. Any development before you pick those cards up? Let's find out.
I love this from Eric. I love the deep. I'm in it. I gotta win.
So
I gotta close this. I'm gonna have a little life in case I have to like Grim Tutor or Vamp Tutor or Gitaxian Probe. I think you can safely go down to 5 life. There's no stray lightning bolts to worry about from Kirkland, I don't think. I'm concerned if I'm Eric really about the Rhystic Study, and it looks like we're exiling Simian Spirit Guide. I think we're gonna see one of those
is it one of those options? Time? Do we find it? We did. It's Final Fortune.
Trigger Rhystic Study. We're going to see interaction here. I think Orry's slow rolling us.
You think Orry's slow rolling? I mean, you mentioned Orry, as you said, drew a limited deck worth of cards. I don't know that it's been 40, but it has been a lot. Now, like I said, a lot of spells don't work. None of the commander spells work. Flare doesn't work.
I think once Eric discards, because if we used Final Fortune, I don't think we have Born Upon a Wind. I think once Eric discards and has to now fight through a Rhystic Study with Orry.
So if you have interaction, you think this Final Fortune should just resolve?
Yeah, and I think you fight Eric on limited resources. You can't draw a card for turn. The only risk you have is drawing more cards with Tavesh activation, but you've already let the Necro resolve, and we moved to end step and found the final. You have a full grip. I think the interaction point now is not fighting against the 30 plus cards in hand. I think you have to wait till the Final Fortune turn to try to do something.
Okay, let's imagine a world where Orry has a Final Fortune in hand. Do you cast it?
I think after cards are discarded to exile.
Okay. And looks like we got something going on there. Is that okay? We got a Culling the Weak, but we haven't untapped our things. So this is still an end step. We're Culling the Weak on the last Thrall token, which is going to make 4 black. And now Grim Monolith is tapped. Here comes more colorless.
But I think if you do have a Final Fortune, if you move to discard with a Necropotence, those are triggers. And when you are done discarding to exile, Necropotence creates a round of priority that's passed in discard, weirdly enough, and cleanup. So I think that is the decision point when you have priority and you know Eric only has 7 cards in hand. I think that's when you go, if you do have a Final Fortune.
Tainted Pact, the follow-up here for Eric, still on end step here with the cards from Necro. We have not discarded. Final Fortune has resolved, and now we've Culling the Weak the token. Then we tapped Grim Monolith. We have 3 black left over. We have cast, I believe, Tainted Pact.
Fascinating.
Okay.
Kirkland fighting for his political life right now.
What is this accomplish? So this could be reverse Thoracle, right? Because we don't have to draw a card for turn. So we just be like, all right, whatever. I mean, obviously it's a little risky if someone has like a bounce spell for your Necro or whatever, but you can just go to 1 card. That's also totally fine. And okay, yeah, we're showing cards. So Ian has something. It has to be something that couldn't protect Nadu.
I'm trying to think of what it would be that wouldn't protect Nadu. A bounce spell is really the only
bounce spell, removal spell. Okay, so yeah, maybe exiling the whole deck with Tainted Pact, not the move here, as it looks like Tainted Pact is going to resolve. Let's see what Eric is interested in. Not SWAT, not mana. We just passed a lot of powerful mana. There's a Dockside. That one looks like a lot of mana. Not interested in mana is Eric. What is Eric interested in? Going for broke here. There's a Demonic Consultation. A weird one when we're already resolving Tainted Pact. Force of Will.
That's one free piece of interaction we know is not available.
Right. There's Brain Freeze. Not interested in doing any Underworld breaching.
Okay.
Ad nauseam,
We know
late to the party.
So we're going for a Thorkel win. There's a Born Upon the Wind.
Or we're going for Born Upon a Wind. We still have the command tower up. So we can actually just deploy a bunch of stuff here on Instep, and then we have Final Fortune as backup if things go bad.
And noted, but we lost the Chain of Vapor, so we can't get rid of that Rhystic Study. If we dump our hand right now, we're going to feed Orry and then have a wall to fight against going into our Final Fortune.
Right. So, yeah. The question here is, can we use this Born along with the extra turn to overwhelm the interaction Orry does have access to? Now, I don't know if the answer is yes, but it's at least a reasonable strategy. You know, there's a little bit of risk with casting the Tainted Pact to do just that. Now, Demonic Consultation gone and Brain Freeze gone. So winning the game starts to get a little bit harder as Chain of Vapor is coming down now.
Maybe on Tavesh.
Are we going after the Rhystic Study? No. Okay, it's not coming down now. What is happening here?
You don't want to hit the Necro, right? Because you want those cards to get exiled.
Right. Oh, here we go. Orry showing some cards to Ian. So this is a 3v1 for all intents and purposes, as Eric has resolved a massive Necro, found Final Fortune, and now with the help of Tainted Pact has found Born Upon the Wind. Black left in pool. Now,
yeah, this
card doesn't matter if Born resolves. So if all you have is Chain of Vapor, it doesn't accomplish anything because you're going to play all the things you'd want anyway. Discarding your cards doesn't really matter.
True. Unless you can't, for whatever reason, make more mana or make mana efficiently, right?
Right. Okay, so we're looking at the free interaction that Eric has used. The answer is SWAT, Force, and Pact of Negation.
Yep. So we are worried about Force of Negation. We're worried about. No, not really. Mindbreak Trap has been used. Really, only Force of. No, I'm sorry. Fierce Guardianship. That's really the only piece of free interaction.
I don't think we've used Fierce, right? Yeah, I think Orry maybe has used a Fierce.
Yes, Orry did use Fierce.
But not Eric. So, yeah, Fierce, the only one we really have to worry too much about as far as free interaction goes if you are the table. Now, the question is, how much stuff can you even beat?
Yeah, with no access to blue mana, I mean, that black mana, I mean, say you put a talisman out to start producing blue or something, and that gets countered, what are you doing? You move to your turn. Yeah, your Mana Vault's tapped, your Grim Monolith is tapped. You have 5 mana, discarding down to 7 if we move to the Final Fortune turn against, Orry's, Draft Chaff.
Draft Chaff. Wrong side deck. Confirmed Draft Chaff. As a Flare of Duplication on Born Upon a Wind? Sacrificing Dockside Extortionist? Oh no.
This timing is crazy, but it makes sense because you can keep Born Upon a Wind on the stack and do everything while the Born's on the stack, so there isn't really even an option for Eric to play things out.
Oh my goodness. In a battle of trying to win over the top of each other. It's Fierce Guardianship. Eric has it. Mindbreak Trap coming down, targeting both spells?
No, you don't want to target the Born, because then you lose access to your Flare, right?
Well, is that bad? Like, what if Orry doesn't really have that much to do? We're just looking to draw a card and deploy some stuff and maybe hope that gets somewhere.
I think what we're about to see, I think MBT is only targeting Fierce, and then I think Flare is going to target Born Upon the Wind. Born Upon the Wind is on the stack, and Orry wins on top.
I think we're going to take it on top. Okay, well, we'll see.
I think we're winning
on being reached for. Remember, this Vexing Shusher has no way to get involved. That is a Summoning Sick Delighted Halfling. Wouldn't be able to activate it anyway. As here's Flare of Duplication. I think you're right. Yeah, so Born Upon the Wind resolves for Orry. I think. Yep.
We're about to draw a card.
Yeah, we haven't drawn a card yet, so we're getting a storm count, I think, started. Because, yeah. Here we go.
And the crazy thing, too, is we can now we have the possibility of being able to, like, if we have a brain freeze in hand and we rip an Underworld Breach and we brain freeze half our library or whatever, we can Sevine's Wreck now at instant speed. We have the LED. We have a full graveyard between 2 wheels that we've seen this game. It's
man.
I think this game is over. I think the time traveler was right that talked to Zane. I think Orry's putting this one home in response to this Born Upon a Wind.
Crazy. And Flare of Duplication, I mean, what a performance for that card. Haven't seen too much of it in action so far. Now, best possible use, I'd say, as Mox Diamond, Mana Crypt, Dark Ritual all coming down. All this mana being used here from Orry, leaving a black and a colorless floating. What is the follow-up? Is that Nauseam mana? No, it's Grim Tutor at instant speed. Whoa.
There's our breach.
Yeah, and we have 2 treasures left over, 4 implied 4 mana here for Orry, as Grim Tutor looks to be resolving with this with this Born Upon the Wind from Eric still on the stack. We're still in Eric's end step. Final Fortune's active. Born Upon the Wind's on the stack. All of these things available for Eric, and he just ran out of interaction. And Orry's going to resolve this Grim Tutor, and I think, yeah, there's Underworld Breach just revealed face up. Probably the next spell cast.
I have to applaud Orry on the patience, and this shows why we're in. I believe Orry's going to win this game, and I think Orry, if he's going to go to top 4, if he wins, like we said at the beginning, he'll have won the TopDeck.gg Expo, which was our first ever platinum event. This event's our last platinum event of the season. He could sandwich these wins together, and this sort of patient play, this the exact timing on when to interact and when to kind of lull your opponents into a false sense of security. This is why Orry is number 8 on the leaderboard. This is why Orry has won a platinum event already. And this is why Orry is in contention of winning his 2nd ever platinum event.
Yeah, I mean, Orry, just an incredible performance through this tournament. If you follow Orry on Twitter, DoomDG, they've been posting about how their run so far, they had a great run through day 1, now into day 2, and now with this sequencing, this patience, like you called out, just incredible play. And we talked a little bit before the show, the conversion rates of decks like Nadu in this tournament, looking very good, Bruised Advantage helping, versus Rogsai, a deck I believe clearly by the community believed to be better than a deck like Nadu. Not having near the same conversion rate, and I think you're seeing Orry demonstrate why. It is small mistakes cost big, small interactions can win big, and Orry has leveraged all of those things very heavily, and some politicking to boot. Just excellent performance here. Underworld Breach resolved, mana left over, and here we are getting things started. We have LED already in play. It is time to count Storm, I believe. And no, we're counting Dockside count. My God, yeah. So big.
This is what I believe separates good players from great players. I think good players know how to win and how to do so effectively. Great players know when to win. And Orry is demonstrating that, I think, right now.
Diabolic Intent, able to put the Dockside Extortionist back in the graveyard. So you just get it all. You can do it again at instant speed, make all of that mana you just made at instant speed. You said prophetically, I believe Orry is going to win the game. I now agree with you entirely. I don't even know what a way out for the rest of this table looks like from this spot, as Brain Freeze has hit the stack. Now we have to count. I've been too aggressive about counting Storm leading up to this. It is finally time to count Storm. It's big. The answer is a lot.
If I'm Orry's opponents right now, I'm not counting Storm. I am counting the cards in my deck to make sure I have all the 100 before I put them in my deck box and go get dinner.
And it looks like dinner is what is on the menu for the rest of these top 16